Assalamu alaikum, boys. I hope everybody's doing okay. As promised, this is chapter 15. After chapter 15, I think we only have one more chapter. It's chapter 16. And as promised, I will be giving you a Google quiz on all three chapters. So, chapter 14, 15, and 16. And that'll be the end of Robin Hood. And then we'll move on to another reading. I think I'm looking for something about Salah ad-Din Ayyubi. I really want to teach you guys about that. And we'll do some other fun activities. Um, so on Thursday, you're going to have a Google quiz about Robin Hood, the last three chapters, and that'll be the end of Robin Hood. And after that, we'll do some other fun activities for the rest of the year. Um, Again, I miss you guys dearly, and I hope you're all staying safe, and we can see each other soon, hopefully before the end of the year, at least one time. All right, chapter 15. The tall friar. Okay, now you guys remember what the word friar means, right? The friar is somebody who works in the church. Okay, so it's kind of like an imam in the masjid. Maybe not a big sheikh, but maybe the imam in a small masjid near your house, right? And an abbot is kind of like a big sheikh, right, of a big masjid. In Islam, we don't really have the same ideas as the church. In the church, they kind of have a system of who is in charge and who is not. And in Islam, we don't have that in the same way. And anybody can talk about Islam. If you know something, you're allowed to speak about it, right? Even if you're a kid and you have some knowledge about Islam, you're allowed to talk about it and correct somebody, right? So it wasn't the same way in the Christian society at that time. So a friar is somebody who works for the church. Okay, so he's somebody of from the religion, a tall friar. Now, I want you guys to think about who do you think the tall friar is? Or who are they talking about? You think they're talking about Friar Tuck, the fat friar, or is this a different friar? Okay, people loved King Richard because he was a brave man and a good king, but his brother, Prince John, only wanted to be king and to be rich. People hated him. When King Richard was in England, the prince and other important Norman lords had to listen to their king. They could not take land and money from weaker men. But Richard fought in Jerusalem for many years. When the king was away, Prince John and his friends were greedy and unkind. Now remember, boys, we were talking about King Richard, and King Richard is in Al-Quds, and he's fighting against Salah ad-Din Ayyubi for the city of Al-Quds. And it's really interesting because we're seeing the perspective of the Christians in Europe at the time, and we're seeing that how they're talking about their great king. And remember, in the previous chapter, they were worried about what would happen when King Richard came back. Robin Hood and his followers were looking forward to him coming back, and Prince John and the sheriff were worried about him coming back. So let's see what happens. Then one day, the prince got a letter from the sheriff of Nottingham. "My lord prince," wrote the sheriff, "the people are saying that your brother Richard is here in the north. They say he is going from town to town and asking questions about me and about you. We will have to be very careful." So, thought the prince, Richard is in England again. Why isn't he dead? And why didn't he come here to London? What stories about me is he listening to? I think I too will go to Nottingham and visit my friend the sheriff. Perhaps he can tell me more. So Prince Richard is hearing that his older brother, who was the king, and is the king, is back in England, but he hasn't come straight to the palace. Instead, he's going around and asking people about the sheriff and also about Prince John. So he wants to find out the information about how they've been treating the people. So the prince took the Great North Road to the sheriff's house. 100 strong men went with him. They took the road through Sherwood Forest, and there they met a churchman. The man was very tall and strong, and he wore a great hood over his face, so his face is covered. "Well, friar," said the prince, "you are a brave man. Is nobody with you? Aren't you afraid? Don't you know that the robber Robin Hood lives in Sherwood Forest?" People say that Robin Hood does not hurt poor men, said the friar. People say stupid things, answered the prince angrily. They say that my brother Richard is in England, but I say that he is dead. I will be the king then. Now move out of my way. The tall man moved out of the way of the horses. He looked back at Prince John and his men for some minutes. Then he left the road and walked quickly into the forest. The tall man walked for a long time. Evening came. Then he heard something up in the trees. Good evening, brother. Why are you walking in the forest? Is nobody with you? Are you not afraid? The tall man laughed. Another person asked me that question. I am not afraid. I am looking for Robin Hood. Will Scarlet jumped down lightly from the tree. Then I will take you to him, he said. When they arrived in the middle of the forest, Robin's men were there. There was good food on the tables again. Robin, called Will, this good friar wants to meet you. We want to meet him too, said Robin. We will eat with rich men, but we ask them to pay for their dinner. Poor people pay us with their stories. What is your story, friend? Why do you want to meet me? This is my story, said the friar. I left England with King Richard. Now the king is in England again, and I came too. So this man, you can see in the hoodie, he's sitting there with Robin Hood and his merry men, and they're having some food. He's covered his face, and he's about to tell a story, and his story so far is that he's a traveler with King Richard. I really want to hear from you guys just at this moment. If you want to send me an email or a message or a comment on who you think this person is. Do you think he really left with King Richard? Do you think he's a liar? Do you think he's trying to set up Robin Hood? What do you think his motive is? What does he really want to do? Let's find out. People everywhere tell me stories about Robin Hood, so I wanted to meet you. Oh, Robin, said Marian, this is wonderful. The king is here in England. Let's go and find him. We can tell him everything about the sheriff and Prince John. I love no man in the world more than the king, said Robin. But what will he think? His brother is a greedy man. I can tell him that. But Prince John will say I am a robber. I think, for now, that I will stay quiet. The tall churchman stood up. You are wrong, Robin, he said. Then he called loudly, To me, to me! Suddenly, 50 strong men came out of the dark night and stood behind him. Oh my God. Boys, right here, do you think he's going to attack Robin Hood? He's got 50 men with him. What is this? Said Robin. Are you Prince John's man? Are the prince and his men here? Are they really so brave? Perhaps my brother is not a brave man, but I am Richard, your king, and I wanted to meet the famous Robin Hood. I hear many good stories about you, Robin, and other people also tell me bad stories about my brother. I know that John gave your lands to the sheriff, but from today you will be Robin of Locksley again and the king's friend. So, it was King Richard. He's come back and he's going to be friends with Robin Hood. So let's see what happens in the final chapter tomorrow. All right, boys, enjoy listening to the story or reading for yourselves. You've got a little bit of math homework, and other than that, just relax. Tomorrow I will put up chapter 16, and on Thursday I'll put up the Google quiz. All right, take care.